In this unit, we're going to look at life processes and animal and plant cells, and the final section will look at more specialised cells. Let's start with the 7 life processes. There are 7 life processes that keep me alive. The most obvious ones are respiration, movement, and eating. That's nutrition. Those 3 are the most obvious, but let's just run through the whole list as a reminder. You might like to jot them down as we go through. Movement, where muscles contract and parts of the body move. Reproduction, all living things need to produce young. Sensitivity, all living things can detect changes and can respond to most of these in order to survive. Growth, organisms that are born small need to grow into adult size, particularly when an individual is young. Respiration is a process by which energy in foods is released in cells. Excretion, waste products produced by the body need to be removed. And finally, nutrition. Food is needed for new body structures, energy, growth and repair. So that was all 7 life processes, and there's an easy way of remembering them.
The way I remember the 7 characteristics of life is Mrs. Wren, because it stands for movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion and nutrition.
Remember, all 7 of these life processes also apply to plants, including moving and responding. Let's take a closer look.
This is a radish. Doesn't seem to be able to do or respond to anything.
But look at this. This radish has been reacting to the stimulus of light. In growing, it weaved towards that stimulus over 4 days. Many plants respond like this, but it happens so slowly you don't notice.
So remember, plants also have movement. For example, plants will move towards light, and sensitivity. Plants will detect changes and respond to them. Why is a motor car not a living thing? It moves, it needs food, it excretes, and it could be sensitive to changes. So is it living? Good one. Why not have a think? So, why is a motor car not a living thing? As you probably picked up, a car is not a living thing because it doesn't fulfill all the 7 life processes. It doesn't respire, grow, or reproduce. The marks rewarded are written on the paper, and for this answer, 1 mark is given. All living things are made up of cells. They're the building blocks of life. And we ourselves are made up of around 100 billion of them.
Some cells, like the ones in this red onion, for example, can be seen under an ordinary microscope. To find the right layer, you need to cut a few centimetres into the onion. And if you look at one of these inner layers on about 50 times magnification, you can clearly see the cells.
But can we see any of our own cells? Now, I must do this right. Cotton buds. On this cotton bud, I've got some of my cheek cells. I'm going to use some of this blue stain because it helps show up the cells. And then put on the cover slip. There.
And at 1,000 times magnification, you can see the individual cells.
Most cells are smaller than these. The average cell is 1/30th of a millimetre, which means that if this brick is the size of 1 cell, then this many, 30, can fit into this space.
So a diagram of an animal cell will look like this, and you need to label the cell membrane, which controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell. A jelly-like substance called the cytoplasm is where all the cell's activities are carried out, and the nucleus is the control centre of the cell. Plant cells also have these three structures, but they have others as well.
Okay, now we've got the cell here magnified over 13,000 times, and here we can see that this cell is slightly different from an animal cell in that it's got this cell wall on the outside. All the way around the cell, we've got the cell wall.
Now, apart from a plant cell's outer wall, the algae cell is actually very similar to all cells. There's the protective membrane around the cell, the nucleus, which acts like the nerve centre controlling everything that goes on in the cell, and the cytoplasm, where chemicals and food are made.
In common with an animal cell, the plant cell also has a nucleus, cytoplasm, and a cell membrane. In addition to these three, the plant cell has a cell wall made up of cellulose, which gives it shape and structure and provides the fibre in our diet. And inside the plant cell is a large vacuole full of sap. Green plant cells in the leaves will also contain chloroplasts. Chloroplasts hold the green pigment used to absorb light for photosynthesis.
Pick a topic, read it through, make sure you understand it. Take cells, for example. Make sure you know the difference between plant and animal cells. Make sure you know the structure of a cell.
The differences between animal and plant cells are that they both have cell membranes, but only plant cells have cell walls and chloroplasts for photosynthesis.
So for plant and animal cells, you need to know that all plant and animal cells have three things in common: a cell membrane, a nucleus, and cytoplasm. But plant cells also have three structures that animal cells don't have: a cell wall, a vacuole, and chloroplasts. For your test, you'll need to be sure of the structures of both plant and animal cells, and which parts only appear in plant cells. Don't make the mistake of labeling the cell membrane as the cell wall. Remember, only plant cells have a cell wall. Animal cells never have a cell wall. Why not stop the tape and practice drawing the cells and labeling the key structures? These are exactly the sort of questions you'll be asked in a test paper. Many cells, like these nerve cells, are highly specialized to do a particular job. We say they are adapted to their function. These plant guard cells have a different shape, but will still have all the cell structures. The different shape of each cell allows it to fulfill its specialized role. These are plant root cells. And these are human muscle cells. So, to summarize specialized cells, we say they are adapted to their function. And you need to know what the words function and adapted mean. Function is what the cell does, its job. Adapted is how the cell is suited to its job. So, that's it for life processes and cell activity. If you're not sure about any of it, particularly those crucial differences between animals and plant cells, you could rewind to the beginning of this unit and check through the key points again. Don't forget there's more info and test questions to practice on our website and also in the accompanying Key Stage 3 bite-sized revision book. You may want to take a break now, or you can move on to the next unit. It's your choice.